Hello everyone, welcome back to more AEW on TEW 2020. We are here in the third week of March 2022, on our way to the first ever show of Rampage in this series, but of course, that is going to be next week. Do apologize if my booking is a little bit weird. I have not recorded in about 2 months. Usually when I say I haven't recorded in a while, it's like a week or two. No, this has been a couple months. We start off our show of Dark with Killer Kelly defeating a new debut in Sapphire with a super kick. Have a bunch of new debuts, a bunch of regens brought in. Whatever. After this, Killer Kelly looks almost completely fine after the match and begins to cut a promo on Jordynne Grace. She says that Jordynne Grace painted a massive target on her back with all of her talk of being unbeatable, and she can't even show up again this week because of Killer Kelly. She declares that there is a reason that she is the only girl in Brutality Inc. and that no one else is there in her spot, and that's because anyone else who tries to take her down, her of course in this case being Killer Kelly, will be rushed. Killer Kelly not the best on the mic, but a 35 rating moves along this storyline of Dark. After this new debut in Cutter SK, it's defeated by Nat Murphy with the steel head kick. Jeff Cobb then defeats Colt Cabana. That's a really good match. The Motor City Machine Guns defeats a new debut in Cesar Emerald, as well as Robert Martyr. With the Made in Detroit Cesar Emerald. 37 for a debut is really nice, though. Don't work well as a team, whatever. Again, he's just a new debut. MCMG, Alex Shelley with a 74. Motor City Machine Guns get on the mic after the match and begin to cut a promo, and Shelley says that he's talking about how he is the reigning ROH PR champion, as well as one of the 6-man tag champions, alongside, I want to say it's Bandito and Flamita. But even if he isn't in that trios with Chris Sabin, it's with the two of them together that they have done their best work. Say that since Paul Heyman has arrived, the tag team division has tanked, and that really shouldn't be tanking because the Motor City Machine Guns are one of the best independent tag teams of all time, and they shouldn't be wasting on lower level talent and new debuts like they have been. So they put out an open challenge for any team to accept on Dark, because at this point they're willing to get any sort of screen time. So Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin, this is true, I haven't really been doing the best with the tag team division. I have a lot of really good teams, I just haven't been booking it well at all. So here's hoping I change that, I guess. After this, Jessamine Duke defeats Serena Deeb. Io Shirai defeats Chris Statlander. Bronson Steiner then defeats Nobuhiro Shimatani, one of our DDT excursion guys. Right after this match, Scott Steiner gets into the ring, and he starts to call out Samoa Joe once again. Did the same last week. But this time, Joe does actually answer the call. He makes his way to the stage, but he's cut off by the Papas of Pump, that being Scott Steiner's stable. They all get into the way. In particular, Will Hobbs gets face-to-face with Samoa Joe, and after a little bit of a confrontation, they're kind of just staring each other down, and Joe can be seen saying, "You're on," to Will Hobbs, before Joe walks back to the backstage area. Samoa Joe versus Will Hobbs. That'll be a fun one. Ace Austin defeats Matt Raywalt. Jacob Fatu defeats Mark Davis. Donovan Dijak defeats Hideki Okatani, also one of our guys on excursion from DDT. Then before their match, they claimed about to have a match, they cut a rap about the Future and Frederick Hurst, saying that the three of them are undeserving of all the hype that they're giving themselves, considering that all that the three of them have done is bounced around from failed faction to failed faction. And obviously, their rap is better than what I'm doing here. Makes more sense. Antonio Banks is also there. He's following them to the ring. So, yeah. They then defeat another 2 debuts in Kato Esper and El Firme. El Firme, I mean, those are kind of expected from new debuts at 19 and 25. Brody Lee defeats Bear Bronson. And our main event, Hiromu Takahashi defeats Ethan Page. And really good show of Dark, and let's hope that I can still remember how to book Dynamite. We begin our show of Dynamite with Dustin Rhodes' Open Challenge. Of course, Dustin Rhodes currently working for... next time that he loses, he will retire, and Minoru Suzuki takes the challenge. Minoru Suzuki, this is not the first time he has shown up in AEW. He was also here in October in-game. He took on Jon Moxley. Here he loses to Dustin Rhodes. After the match, Dustin helps Suzuki up to his feet, but soon enough, Charles Betts walks out from backstage with a mic. And Dustin, he seems like he's ready to accept Betts' challenge for next week, because that's what you'd expect. But Betts actually then starts speaking. He says, "Two legends of the business are right here in front of me. And this is as good a time as ever to make an offer to someone that I hope I can't be refused on. Minoru Suzuki. You're one of the hardest hitting pro wrestlers in history, and while I have the amateur wrestling credentials, I want to learn from one of the best in pro wrestling. So Suzuki, I want you to go all out." Charles Betts challenging Minoru Suzuki. I think that'd be a fun match to watch, I would think. And that is a new storyline. Suzuki, he is officially part of AEW right now. I just have him on a handshake deal. So it's fine. Suzuki is, again, he's part of the roster. New Japan just didn't re-sign him. So after this, the Lucha Brothers, we cut back to them. We've seen them a few times recently. And they have found the source of the loud music from the past few weeks. They barge into a nightclub owned by the Private Party and the Godfather. The three of them invite the Lucha Brothers to participate in the festivities, aka to party. But the Lucha Bros respond by attacking the Private Party. Two groups duke it out, and the Lucha Bros eventually do pick up the win. They completely destroy the bar. They trash everything. Godfather doesn't get involved in the fighting, but Cassidy and Quen are taken down, and then the Lucha Bros leave. They're satisfied with what they've done. After this, Kana defeats Layla Hirsch. Kana, one of our best in-ring performers. Layla Hirsch somehow managed to get up to recognizable, even though I haven't used her in like months. After the match, however, Maki Ito comes out, followed by Abaddon and Maki. Both of them actually get up to Kana. Maki's screaming in Japanese at Kana, while Abaddon is screaming in zombie. Abaddon's just kind of there for the ride. And Kana is just standing there. She's completely confused. No idea what's going on. She recently faced off against Ham's Katana. Kana is just attracting all sorts of weirdos at this point. And eventually, Maki just very loudly yells into her mic, "I challenge you to a fight." And then Maki headbutts Kana. I'm imagining this, like... The image I have in my mind is Krogan's, because I've been playing a lot of Mass Effect Legendary Edition recently. So, just headbutts Kana. Kana staggers a bit and is like, alright, I respect that. Headbutts Maki by herself, and then heads backstage. Kana's hurt a little bit by it. So, Maki versus Kana is going to be this one. Kana getting a lot of strange feuds, but she is really, really good. Former AEW Women's Champion lost the belt to Mayu Iwatani at Revolution. Right? Was it at Revolution or was it at New Year's? I think it was at New Year's that she lost the belt to Mayu. Yeah, because Revolution she took on Hams. So yeah, I think it was New Year's that Kana lost the belt to Mayu. After this, CM Punk is seen in his home. He's responding to Darby's message from last week. I should have figured you'd misunderstand me, Darby. I mean, you're the king of misunderstanding, because clearly you know what it's like to be misunderstood. And that's why you're still the emo kid. I mean, you can consider me to be selfish all you want, but I'm just being smart. People wanted to see me beat the crap out of MJF, and now they want to see one of the hottest rising stars in pro wrestling take on someone who, I'll be the first to admit, it's a bit past his prime. I'm not an old relic by any means, but let's just say that this gray hair that I have isn't spray painted on. Feel how you want, but this is going to be one of the most hyped matches going into Rampage, Darby. Don't deny that much. CM Punk made his debut match against MJF, now going up against Darby Allin. After this, the Young Bucks defeat FTR. Young Bucks, FTR, and Proud and Powerful are right now having a bit of... They're having some friendly matches against each other to try to get more recognition for the tag division. After this, Ricochet is ready to cut a promo about his past with Will Ospreay when he's interrupted by Chris Jericho pushing him aside. Sammy Guevara comes in, takes the camera that Ricochet was about to use, and he follows Jericho as he speaks, and he leads all the group to, or he leads the camera to the inner circle. Jericho says, Paul Heyman, think you just get away with saying that the GOAT isn't going to be prioritized? You gotta push me down the pecking order because you think I'm old, but I say, screw that. Look at all of us here, Paul. You're shutting down one of the cornerstones of AEW because of your own selfish vision. Oh, and yeah, you're shutting down another cornerstone, the Vision too, while we're at it. You know what, Paul? You can try to do whatever you want to me or the inner circle. We're always gonna come back up because Le Champion never dies. Chris Jericho is the immortal wrestler, 31 years at the top of the goddamn pro wrestling world. And this will turn all of the inner circle face. Chris Jericho's the immortal gimmick, very good. Ace Austin didn't actually change his gimmick, okay. Sammy Guevara's now Rising Star gimmick is adequate. What the hell up? Whatever, it's fine. Jake Hager, he is also now a face. After this, Fred Yehi defeats Lucas Fenrir of the Nightmare Family. Then Antonio Banks exits from backstage, looking visibly upset about the whole situation with Ricochet about 10-15 minutes ago. But he does quickly get back up to speak, and he says, Fred Yehi, you're one of the best technical wrestlers in the world. Of course, that's only one of the best. You're training with legends like Tully Blanchard, and that makes you even better, but we can't deny that there's a few others that are willing to take that crown. People like, say, my client, Jonathan Gresham. You already know what I'm getting at. It's best for business. We prove who the best technical wrestler in this company, no, in this world is. Fred Yehi versus Jonathan Gresham, that seems to be coming up. Technical mastery, you have a lot of really good technical wrestlers. So let's start taking advantage of that. After this, a vignette plays showing the history that Io Shirai has with other people currently in AEW, namely Mairi Watani, Kana, and Kairi Hojo. As the vignette ends, Kairi is on the screen and she talks personally about her time with Io and why she wants to be the one that welcomes Io to AEW properly. Of course, Io now has her second match on the books, I believe, with the one that she had on Dark earlier in this episode. But now, Kairi wants to properly welcome Io. Io obviously going to be going for that that women's world title. So, yeah. After this, Kip Sabian defeats Bandito with a springboard dropkick and breaks his fingers in the process. Thanks. Garza Jr., he was at the announcing desk. Thank you, Arn. So yeah, Garza was on commentary, he gets it from his chair and goes to hug Kip Sabian, mic in his hand. He's very careful to not aggravate the fingers. And he says, Rampage is right around the corner, isn't it? And there hasn't even been a TNT title match announced for it. I mean, you could say that's because Rampage isn't on TNT, but I want that match anyways. And I'm so glad to announce that the #1 contender is Kip Sabian. I mean, regardless of who wins, this title is staying in the glorious, shiny, clean hands of the Rose Garden. So, yeah, #1 contender is Kip Sabian. Garza Jr., he is very happy about that. And Kip Sabian, broken fingers. Maybe I'll write that into the storyline. I have to find out how long that injury actually is. After this, MJF is in the VIP's lounge by himself, and he looks incredibly bored. He says, Jeez, you are such a goddamn bore, Rami. I always make sure to watch my appearances back over the course of the week. And it was rough getting through last week. That was one of the most cliche things I've ever heard. How the hell did you get over with boring cliche shit like that? Whatever, I really don't care at this point. What matters is, Rami, you've insulted me, and like hell am I going to take that lying down. I am the second longest reigning AEW champion, and some self-righteous wannabe saint is going to lecture me about how to be champ when only Moxley has had a longer run than I have? You know what? Fine. You want to see what a champion in action looks like? What the future of pro wrestling looks like in the ring? Bring it. Again, this is kind of just, it's remnants of me not having booked in a while. My promos are pretty terrible, but oh well. And in our main event, Miro defeats Brian Cage with the Bullplex. Afterwards, Brutality Inc. began. So, as the match was going on, Brutality Inc. were making their way to ringside, and they're just watching the match. They all have their signature weapons. Pac has his kendo stick. Dijak has his Killer Kelly has her chain. Brian Pillman Jr. has the chair. I think Dijak has a lead pipe. I think that's what I've had him use before. Hit Squad don't have a weapon themselves, but whatever. After Miro picks up the win, Pac gets into the ring with his kendo stick. He offers it to Miro. He says, "Take your career into your own hands, Crusher." Miro slowly walks over to the down Brian Cage. He has a kendo stick in hand. He looks like he's ready to completely, beat down Brian Cage, who's, he's defeated. And then quick turns around, cracks Pac across the ribs with it. And then chaos ensues immediately. Brutality all storm the ring. Miro's doing his best to fight them off, but, it's, 5-1 disadvantage. So obviously, yeah, he's gonna get overwhelmed. Eventually, the Hit Squad are holding Miro up as Pac is ready to club him in the face with a kendo stick, just as he did to Kota Ibushi. John Moxley's music plays. Pac smiles at this and orders the Hit Squad to drop Miro as the show fades to black, with Mox and Pac staring each other down. So, Miro, very beginning of this series, really early on, he powerbombed Renee Young through a table. And he's still... People haven't really forgiven him for that, but Moxley now, surprisingly, coming to the aid of Miro. We'll see how that goes as we finish off our show. An 80 rated show, pretty nice. I don't know how that stacks up, because again, I haven't checked anything with, anything regarding this in a long time, but that's besides the point, and we'll be moving on to next week. We get Rampage and Dark get Dark and Dynamite, and then Rampage following that, the first ever show of Rampage. So, that'll be it for this week.